It's very slow. Good afternoon, students.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yeah. Just a minute, I'll just share my screen. Some issues there. 1 second. I'm just trying to share my screen. Are you all able to see my screen? Okay, let me join back. There is some issue, I think. Let me join back. Give me 1 minute. Good afternoon, students.
Good afternoon.
You're able to see my whiteboard?
Ma'am, just the screen is visible. The Google Meet screen.
Okay, I don't know what's happening. Just a second. Now only 10 minutes I'm using. How about now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Right. So in the last class, we started with functional dependencies. And then we saw how we can try to represent a functional dependency. We saw what is the notation for functional dependency and so on. Okay, so we saw also a couple of inference rules. We listed out all of them, and then we try to prove two of them. Okay, let us try to see how we can prove the rest. This proof of inference rule is also very important. In the examination, they might ask you to either prove or they may ask you to list also. We can never know that. Okay, so let us begin with, I'm sorry for the delay of 10 minutes because there was some issue at my end with this network. All right. Yeah. Proof of IR3. Okay. So we had seen and listed out in the last class that IR3 is a transitive rule. Okay. So let us first try to put down what is that rule. Anyone? What is IR3? Given X implies Y, Y implies Z. Yes. We have to infer X implies Z. So this is what we have to prove. Okay. So what is given to us? Let me put down here. X implies Y is given to us. All right. Second one, Y implies Z is also given to us. Now these two are holds in a relation R. Okay. Then in that case, for any two tuples, I'm writing it here so that it becomes clear for you all. For any two tuples T1 and T2 in R, okay, such that your T1 of X should be equal to T2 of X, then we must definitely have what? T1 of Y equal to T2 of Y. Why? This is because from the point 1. What did I tell? We are given X implies Y. X determines Y and Y determines Z. Okay, we are given already that. Then for any two tuples, in that case, for any two tuples T1 and T2 in R, such that if T1 of X is equal to T2 of X, then obviously your T1 of Y should be equal to T2 of Y. Okay. Why? This is by the first point. Because we are given X determines Y, we can always, and we are saying that for any two tuples, if T1 of X is going to be T2 of X, then obviously T1 of Y is equal to T2 of Y. I can write this because of our assumption 1. Okay. Now, we should also have, if you look at our assumption, if you look at this third point from 3, based on our 3, what is our 3? T1 of Y is equal to T2 of Y. Since we have said T1 of Y is equal to T2 of Y, we should also have what? T1 of Z is equal to T2 of Z. Why? This is by our second point that is given to us, second one. What is given? Y determines Z. Y determines Z means what? By the definition of functional dependency, T1 of y is equal to T2 of y means then T1 of z should also be equal to T2 of z. That is the definition of y determines z. From third point, we have seen already that T1 of y is equal to T2 of y. Now, since your T1 of y is equal to T2 of y, we should also have T1 of z is equal to T2 of z. Okay. Now, from which one can I take? 3 and our assumption and our point 2. From 2 and 3, y determines z, and we also have T1 of z is equal to T2 of z. So obviously your x determines z should hold. Okay. So y T1 of y is equal to T2 of y. T1 of z is also equal to T2 of z. You already have T1 of x is equal to T2 of x. Hence your x determines z. So hence it is proved. Is it clear to you all? I will again tell. Transitive rule means what? What is the rule says? Given is x determines y determines z, then we should be able to infer x determines z. Okay, fine. What is given in that case? If I start the proof like this, what is given? X determines y is given. Y determines z is also given. Then, in that case, what we can write? For any two tuples T1 and T2, okay, such that T1 of x is equal to T2 of x, then T1 of y should also be equal to T2 of y. Because why? Because x determines y. Now, T1 of y is equal to T2 of y, we have already written. And we also know what? Y determines z. Hence, I can always write T1 of z is equal to T2 of z. Now, if you, yeah, tell me. Any doubts? Now, from 3 and from this 4, if I write this as 4, okay? What we have written? 3 and 4. From 3 and 4, what you can improve? 3, T1 of y is equal to T2 of y. 4 is, okay, 1 second. T1 of x is equal to T2 of x. And we have also written T1 of z is equal to T2 of z. Therefore, we can always say x determines z. So, hence your transitivity holds. Any doubts? Now let's move on to proof of IR4. Any questions?
And can give the another example, ma'am?
No, this is not example. Here we are only trying to prove the theorem, inference rule. That's all. It is not any problem that we are trying to solve. We have to prove the inference rule of transitivity. That's all. So given x determines y and y determines z, we are trying to see how can we prove x determines z.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay. Next, we move on to the IR4. IR4 is what? Let us see first what is the rule. Decomposition rule, or we call it as the projective rule. This is what we saw in the last class. Decomposition rule or the projective rule. What does it say? X determines YZ means you should be able to infer X determines Y. This is what you have to prove. right? If x determines yz is given, then x determines y is what you have to prove. Right. So let us see what is given to us. X determines yz. This is given. Any step that you can apply? Any answer on how we can proceed? Anybody? No one. See, this one, what does our first rule says? What does our first rule says? If x is a superset of y, then x determines y. This is our IR1. Okay. Now, can you apply that here? That's a hint I gave you. Can we apply that here? And bring out our second step? Anyone? If x is a superset of y, then I can write x determines y. Here, the second step here, I can write yz determines y. Why? Why can I write? How can I write like that? I'm not doing anything, but I'm just using our IR1. I'm using IR1. And then I'm writing this step yz determines y. Because why I'm writing like that? Because yz is a superset of y. If anything is a superset of y, then what can I write? I can write it as x determines y. This is from IR1, right? I'm applying that IR1 here. I'm given x determines yz. I can write yz determines y. Why? Because I'm using IR1. What does IR1 states? If x is a superset of y, then I can write x determines y. If you look here, yz is a superset of y, is it not? Are you all able to hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Yz is a superset of y, correct. So yz is a superset of y. So using your IR1 concept, I can write yz determines y. So x determines yz, yz determines y. So what will be my next step? X determines y. This is by transitivity again. IR3 states what? Transitivity. If x determines y and y determines z, we will get x determines z. Same thing here. X determines yz, yz determines y. So I can write x determines y. The second step is the only catch here. Second step, I write it as yz determines y. Because yz is a subset, yz is a superset of y. So I can always write yz determines y. That is by using our IR1. Any question? That's all. That's a proof of IR4. You want me to do it again? So IR4, what is given? I'm just repeating. X determines yz is given to us. Okay, we have to infer x determines y. So first step is given to us is, I will write down the whatever is given to us. X determines yz. Now second step, I told you, I can write yz determines y. This is by IR1. Okay, what does IR1 state? If x is a superset of y, then I can write x determines y. Similarly here what is happening? Yz is a superset of y. So I can always write yz determines y. That's how I arrived at third step. So x determines yz, yz determines y, so x determines y. That's by transitivity, IR3. Clear to you all? That is proof of IR4. Next, let us move on to proof of IR5. What is IR5? Union or additive? Union or additive rule. What does it state? If x determines y and x determines z also, we can infer x determines yz. You are trying to combine. That is what is your IR5. Okay, let us start. What is given to us? X determines y. This is given. Okay. Second step. X determines z. This is also given to us. Any guess what we can take on for third step as? What is IR2? Can we apply IR2? IR2 is what? Augmentation rule. So x determines y. If that is there, then I can always infer. XZ determines YZ. Means I'm adding something on both the sides. Correct? That is what is our IR2. Can we apply something here? Can we apply? If I apply IR2, what we can get? I can write something like X determines XY. I am applying IR2 on 1. See, what is IR2? Understand one thing. IR2 is what? It's an augmentation rule. You are trying to add some attributes on both the sides. If x determines y is given, we can infer xz determines yz because we have added z on both the sides of the dependency. Right? So if I take first one here given is what? X determines y. If I try to apply augmentation rule on this, all right, I will apply here x. I am applying x on both the sides. In the sense, I will get xx determines xy. I am applying augmentation rule on 1. 1 is given to be x determines y. I will apply augmentation rule by augmenting both the sides, left and right side by x. So I will get xx determines xy. Xx is nothing but x only. So I can write this as x determines xy. That is what I have written here. Is it clear to you all or not?
Yes, ma'am.
So if there is any doubt, ask me. Fourth step. Similarly, can I apply some augmentation on IR2? The second one, what is given to us? X determines Z. Can we apply IR2 on X determines Z?
Yes, ma'am.
What you will get? How will you apply?
XY implies YZ.
Very good.
Adding Y.
XY determines YZ. I will apply IR2 on 2, augmenting it with Y. That means I am adding Y on both the sides of 2. So I will get XY determines YZ. Okay. So our fifth step. Look at 3 and 4. X determines XY. XY determines XZ. So I can write X determines YZ. This is based on our IR3. Okay. That's the proof. Let me repeat. IR5 is union or additive rule. Okay. So what is the rule? If X determines Y and X determines Z, then you should be able to infer X determines YZ. Okay. So first point I am taking whatever is given to us. X determines Y, that is given. Second point ours, x determines z, that is also given. Okay, now somehow I should arrive at x determines yz. Correct? Now, third step, I will try to apply IR2 on the first step. IR2 is what? It's an augmentation rule. That means if I add some attributes on both the sides of the dependency, I can derive out or infer a new dependency. That is what is augmentation rule. Okay, so if on this first one, x determines y, I am applying augmentation rule by augmenting it with x on both the sides. So if I apply x on both the sides of 1, what I will get? Xx determines xy. This is what I will get. Xx is nothing but x. So what I am left here with, x determines xy. That is what I have written here. Third step is x determines xy. Same way I will try to work out. I will try to apply augmentation rule on second, whatever is given to us. X determines z. So I will try to apply augmentation rule. That means I try to add some attributes on both the sides of x determines z. I am going to add y. So if I add y, I will get xy determines yz. That is what I have written here. So 3 and 4 you see, 3 and 4. X determines xy, xy determines yz. So you will get x determines yz. This is what we want. That is the proof of IR5. Let's move on to IR6. Okay. What does IR6 state? If x determines y is given, wy determines z is given, then you can infer wx determines z. Okay, let us see. First, what is given to us? X determines y is given. It's very simple. Second one is also given, wy determines z, that's also given to us. We have to arrive at w determines, I'm sorry, what I have written here. Yeah, wx determines z. Okay. Now, again I will apply IR2 on 1. IR2, apply it on the first one by augmenting it with w. That means I am going to add w on both the sides. Then I will get wx determines wy. Right? Yeah. Now you see 3 and 2. Wx determines wy. Wy determines z. So I can always write wx determines z. Wx determines z. That is what we should arrive. This is by IR3, transitivity. By applying on 2 and 3. Wx determines wy, third one. Second one is wy determines z. So Wx will determine z. That's what is asked. Very simple. Just one step. You have to apply augmentation rule by, IR2. That is what. IR2 on the first one by augmenting it with w. Augmenting with w means add w on both the sides of the given dependency. That is all. So these are the proofs of the 6 inference rules of functional dependency. Any doubts at this point? Any questions?
No doubts, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Now this IR, we have seen 6 inference rules, right? This IR3 or IR1, IR2 and IR3. Okay. They are called as Armstrong's inference rules. What are they called? Armstrong's inference rules. Now, they are called Armstrong inference rule because IR1 to IR3, only they are called Armstrong's inference rule, not everything. IR1 through IR3, they are called as Armstrong's inference rules. This is again an important question they might ask you. Armstrong's inference rule, because these three rules are said to be sound and complete. That's why they are called sound and complete. What does that mean? Sound means we should be able to infer any rule. You see, given a set of dependencies F, okay, let us say F is given to us. F is what? Set of dependencies. SSN implies determines E name, SSN determines something, D number determines department name. All the set of all the dependencies that are given to you is F. Now, given the set of dependencies on any relation R, okay, we should be able to infer any rule, or we should be able to infer any of the dependency using this IR1, IR2 and IR3. We will be able to determine all the possible dependencies using these three rules. That is why they are called as sound. They are sound. Okay. And they will hold for every record in the relation. Any dependency that you are trying to infer from this will hold for every particular tuple or every particular record. And you are inferring them from these three relations. That's why they are called as sound. Second one is called as complete. Complete means you go on inferring, given as a relation R. Okay, you are given something. Given this, you are able to derive out or infer the complete set of all possible dependencies that can be inferred. That's why it was using IR1, IR2 and IR3. That is why you call it as complete. So IR1 and IR1, IR2 and IR3 are called as Armstrong's inference rule. They are said to be sound and complete. Sound means you will be able to derive whatever dependency you are trying to derive out, that will hold for all the instances of the table. Okay. Complete means given a set F of all dependency, you will be able to derive out the complete set of all possible dependencies. Whatever you can infer from R, you will be able to do it using IR1, 2 and 3. So that's why it's called as complete. Sound and complete. Any questions? Are you all there or you have stepped off? Any doubts? Any questions? Proof of all the 6 IR is very important. Normal forms based on primary keys. Now we are moving into a very, very important topic of what is normalization. Okay, so this is again where you have to understand what are the different normal forms. All that is very important. First, we will try to understand what do we mean exactly by normalization of relations. We'll first understand this, then we'll be going into the different normal forms. What is normalization? Anyone? All of you would have studied, no? First normal form, second normal form and all that. Can anyone answer me what is normalization? Yes? What is normalization? Dhanaka?
Ma'am,
Ma'am,
I have forgotten, ma'am.
You have forgotten. Very good.
ma'am,
Anyone else?
Process of
eliminate
structuring
redundant.
the database, ma'am.
One by one.
To reduce redundancy.
To reduce redundancy. Okay. Yeah, Lavanya? Yeah, okay.
Process of structuring the database is organization.
Process of structuring the database. Okay. Then what she's trying to say something. Eliminate the data, Soumya Shri. We are not actually eliminating. We'll eliminate the duplicate. Yeah. We eliminate the duplicate data. Yes. Not the data
Redundant
itself.
data.
Yeah, redundant data. Good. Anyone else? Okay. Now, you all said something with respect to the normal form. Nobody told me what is normalization. You try to reduce the redundancy. All that is specific to a particular normal form. Either it could be a first normal form or second or whatever. But what do we mean by normalization process? It is not necessarily to reduce the redundancy. Reducing the redundancy is one such criteria. That's all. Okay, there are several normal forms. One normal form tells you have to reduce the redundancy, not everything, but normalization of relations was proposed by this person called as CORD. Okay, now a particular table will have to undergo number of, let's say, tests. Okay, just to certify whether it satisfies the normal form or not. That is what you call it as the process of normalization. So normalization means what? Any table or a particular table should undergo a series of tests. Why it has to undergo a series of tests? To certify. Finally, you should be able to tell whether it satisfies a certain normal form or not. That process you call it as normalization. All right. Now, suppose when you every normal form will have certain criteria. First normal form says it should not have duplicate value. Second normal form says some partial dependency, full dependency, something like that. Third normal form talks of some other things. Fourth normal form talks of let's say multi-valued relations. So many things are there. Each normal form will specify certain criteria. Okay. So every table has to undergo. You should test that particular table against these criteria to show that it satisfies all the normal forms. If it satisfies all the normal form, then you certify that the particular relation or the table is in a normalized form. Rather, basically, you are trying to evaluate each relation or each table against each of these criteria. So first normal, if it is first normal form satisfied, you go and test if it is second normal form. If it is second for normal form also is satisfied, you go one step higher, that is third normal form. Initially, this person he proposed 3 normal forms. The first normal form, second normal form, and the third normal form. These are the 3 normal forms which were initially proposed. Then came a stronger definition of this third normal form. A little more, they strengthened this third normal form. They called it as BCNF or call it as Boyce Codd normal form. Where another person called this Boyce, he joined along with Codd and then they brought out something called as a BCNF. A little stronger version of your third normal form. Okay, all these forms are based on what? It is all based on functional dependencies among the attributes. So if you don't know functional dependency, it will become difficult for us to follow what is normalization. Later on, after this third normal form came your fourth normal form and the fifth normal form. So 5 normal forms were proposed by these two. All right. Now, normalization of data. When I say that, we try to define normalization. When I say normalization of data, this can be considered as what? You are trying to analyze the given relation, okay, based on their functional dependency and primary keys. You always analyze the relation based on the functional dependency and the primary key. What is your property? Why do you do a normalization? As you all told, one is to avoid redundancy. You do a normalization to avoid the redundancy or minimize. You cannot completely avoid, you try to minimize the redundancy. The next important point is you minimize the anomalies. What anomalies? Insertion, deletion and updation anomalies. That means when you try to insert, there can be some errors. When you try to delete, there can be some errors. When you try to update, there can be some errors. Okay, they are all called as anomalies. In the other class, we saw insertion means how many ways your insertion can be violated. How many ways deletion can be violated. We saw that violations are nothing but, it is nothing but your errors. It is nothing but the anomalies. Okay, so when I say normalization, your normalization of data means what? The given relation schema or the given schema. It is you are trying to analyze that schema based on the functional dependency between the attributes and the primary key. You try to analyze it based on what? You try to evaluate it based on what? Based on the functional dependency and the primary key. What do you want to achieve? We want to achieve two important things. One is your redundancy, minimizing the redundancy. We don't say avoid the redundancy, we minimize. You cannot completely avoid redundancy because you need some backup. Okay, so we minimize the redundancy. We minimize the anomalies related to insertion, deletion and updation. So these are the two important objectives of why we go in for normalization. So we analyze or we put the table into a series of tests based on the criteria set by each of the normal forms. And then we try to certify whether this particular table has satisfied all the criteria or not. If it has satisfied all the criteria, then we say it is in the normal form. Okay. Sometimes what will happen, the table given, whatever table is given, that itself may not be normalized. You may not get normalization for that particular table. So you try to, what we do, we try to decompose that table. Decompose means what? You try to break the table into smaller parts. And these smaller parts, you try to certify that they are normal. That is also fine. The entire big table, fat table, whatever is given with so many attributes, it may not be normalized. It may not satisfy the condition for normalization. So what you can do, you can try to decompose that table. Decomposition means you try to break the table into smaller parts. When you try to break the table into smaller parts, each of these smaller parts, you can try to then prove that they are normal. Okay. Now, normalization itself is not a guarantee for a good database design. It is just generally not sufficient to check separately that each relation is in normal form. Okay, then my database is fine. No. There are a couple of two other properties. One is called as lossless join. Or you call this as non-additive join. This condition should also be satisfied. What did I say? Normalization alone is not sufficient. If every table is normalized, you cannot say, okay, it's a very good, it does not guarantee a good database design. Normalization alone. You should also take care of, especially when you try to decompose the table, it will result in something called as lossless join or non-additive join property. Okay, you have to ensure that these two properties are taken care of. One is this. Second property is your, we call it as dependency preservation property. These are two important properties. Dependency preservation. Okay. Dependency preservation property and lossless join property. These two properties should be taken care of when you write along with normalization. Normalization alone is not sufficient to guarantee a good database design. Along with normalization, you should also take care of these two issues or these two properties. What are these two properties? Lossless join means what? That is what we will try to see it in the next class. Now I'm not going to take it up. So in this class, we have seen one important thing, that is proof of all the inference rules. That's very important that you learn. If you're not followed, go through the videos. Once again, I'll upload it. You can go through the video and try and understand how we arrived at those inference rules. That's very important. And then we try to say what is IR 1, 2, and 3 are called as Armstrong's rules. I said they are supposed to be following the properties of being sound and complete. So why they are called that? That also we have said. If they ask you in the examination, describe Armstrong's rules, then you should do only 1, 2, and 3. Don't do all the 4, 5, and 6. They are not called Armstrong's rules. Okay. And then we saw some definitions of what is a normalization. Next class, very important, I will be teaching you about these two important properties, and then we will be going into the first normal form, which is very, very important for all of you to understand. Okay, I'll be giving a very simple example and helping you to understand it better. Right? So, and tomorrow's class, Dwarkanath sir will be taking tomorrow 3rd hour. So I will continue on Wednesday. Okay. Answer attendance, Anaga.
Yes, ma'am.
Abhilash.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Akrut.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Anusha. Aravind.
Present, ma'am.
Harifullah.
Yes, ma'am.
Tanaka.
Present, ma'am.
Banu. Bhargav.
Yes, ma'am.
Rahmatullah. Chaitra.
Present, ma'am.
Chandana.
Present, ma'am.
Karan.
Yes, ma'am.
Darshan.
Present, ma'am.
Diksha. Dakshayani.
Present, ma'am.
Kishan. Harshit.
Present, ma'am.
Hemlata.
Present, ma'am.
Uma.
Present, ma'am.
Jayant.
Present, ma'am.
Divya.
Yes, ma'am.
Kaushik.
Present, ma'am.
Lakshmi Lavanya.
Present, ma'am. My issue.
Manish.
Present, ma'am.
Manoj.
Present, ma'am.
Mohit.
Yes, ma'am.
Naval.
Present, ma'am.
Nivya.
Present, ma'am.
Nikhil.
Present, ma'am.
Manindra.
Present, ma'am.
Pavan.
Yes, ma'am.
Pooja.
Present, ma'am.
Purnima.
Yes, ma'am.
Raman.
Present, ma'am.
Rashmi.
Yes, ma'am.
Rupak.
Yes, ma'am.
Sai Kumar. Samir.
Present, ma'am.
Santosh.
Present, ma'am.
Shadab.
Sharon, present, ma'am.
Present, ma'am.
Sharan.
Present, ma'am.
Sheetal.
Present, ma'am.
Shivani.
Present, ma'am.
Ramya. Purti.
Present, ma'am.
Vishnu.
Present, ma'am.
Present, ma'am.
Yeah. Sushma.
Present, ma'am.
Sushmita BS.
Present, ma'am.
Sushmita U.
Present, ma'am.
Tirtha.
Present, ma'am.
Tripti.
Present, ma'am.
Varsha Veena.
Present, ma'am. Present, ma'am.
Diksha is present. Rahmatullah is present. Lakshmi is present. Sai Kumar present. Shashank is also present. I didn't call you, huh? Yeah, all are present, I think. Okay, students, thank you. Any questions on this?
No, ma'am.
Yeah. So tomorrow's class, Dwarkanath sir will be taking. I will take on Wednesday. All right. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.